Jury verdict's in and SBF has been found guilty on all counts. This guy's facing 110 years in federal prison for fraud. Now, I'm a former prosecutor and lawyer. I'm going to explain what happened in the case and what's going to be next. Now, what this case was about is plain and simple theft. He was charged with fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud, securities fraud. It's basically all about fraud. But really what it was simply was theft. SBF took $65 billion of company funds and lent it to his own trading company, Alameda Research. Now, the way they did this, and this was the smoking gun in the case, is in their code on the FTX platform, SBF and his cronies created something called an allow negative in the code that was unique to Alameda Research, that essentially allowed Alameda Research to go negative in their account. Wouldn't that be nice for you, an investor on FTX or at your bank, to be able to go negative in your account? They allowed Alameda to go negative, and that ended up going into hundreds of millions, eventually $1 billion, and then went to $65 billion. It's crazy. They were investing customer funds and losing, and they couldn't ever pay it back. Eventually, they were chasing their tail, and that's why we're now faced with $65 billion in losses. They were greedy, trying to invest customer funds to make themselves money. Plain and simple, that's theft. And that's why SBF is going to prison. Now, here's some interesting things in the case that didn't make him look so great. First of all, his $30 million frat house in the Bahamas, his $16 million house he bought for his parents in the Bahamas, Stanford Law School professors. I mean, these were Stanford Law School professors that had a $16 million home in the Bahamas that was bought with FTX customer funds. Also crazy things, total disregard for money and respect for people's money. He was flying private jets from the US to the Bahamas with Amazon packages. The guy couldn't wait for Amazon to ship his packages. He had to have his private jet ship packages to him down in the Bahamas. Totally ridiculous. He was in La La Land. All the fame and celebrity, everything going on. He thought he was indestructible, was going to Capitol Hill. And I think everything got to SBF's head. And frankly, it just got out of control. Then they got careless disregard for people's money. $65 billion goes missing. This is how that happens. People don't have a regard for other people's money. Now, SBF, like I said, is facing up to 110 years in prison. Now, what's happening next is the government is going to prepare what's called a pre-sentencing report. They're going to go over the case, all the allegations they had, the convictions and the guilty counts, which were all counts. They want on every count. Then they're going to add up all the time that this would be. We already know that's up to a maximum of 110 years. And they're going to go make a recommendation to the judge. Now, SBF probably had a plea deal. A lot of his co-defendants plead out on the case and got shorter sentences. But SBF did not plead out. He went to trial. And what that's going to mean for him? He's not going to get a favorable recommendation from the federal government, like some of his co-conspirators who ended up pleading out and frankly testified against him in his trial. So we're going to be looking for the recommendation he's going to get from the federal government. I would expect it to be high. I'd probably expect it to be 20 years plus. They could go for the whole thing, 100 years, and the guy will never see the light of day. But it may be in the 20 to 30 year sentencing range. This is a white collar crime, but they are going to throw the book at SBF, and the judge is going to be very reluctant to give him a light sentence. I'm sure his lawyers are appealing this. They've already said they're going to go appeal this. Of course, they're going to be asking for light sentencing time and talk about how SBF is so great and how he's given money to all these things and he's such a charitable person and he's such a good person. Yeah, with other people's money. Okay. It's great to be so charitable and give all these things to the world. You know, he's always talking about the environment and all these things he cared about, but it wasn't his money. It was with other people's money. All right, now what's happening to all the customers of FTX that lost money? There's going to be a couple things happening. First, of course, is there's a bankruptcy that's already happening. They're trying to reclaim funds, give people back money as much as they can. There's going to be a lot of legal fees and expenses to do this, but FTX customers are going to get a return of some of their funds. Now, all these assets of SBF, now that he's guilty, that'll be part of restitution in the case. So the house in the Bahamas and all these other things, these have already been semi-seized by the government, but now they've won their case. Those will be part of the restitution order at sentencing, where any assets he has are going to be subject to forfeiture. Even assets that are in his parents' name that were bought with FTX customer funds, those are going to be seized as well. Any of his co-defendants who have pled out, their assets are going to be seized. And so these proceeds will be available to the victims of the case here, which are FTX customers who were frankly robbed. So that's going to be happening next. That'll be part of the case as well. In addition to SBF's time that he's going to get at sentencing, is a max amount they can recover from his assets and other things that he bought like the houses in the Bahamas, the private jets, all this ridiculous stuff he was buying, going in over his head with other people's money. Now, what happens to all these celebrities and politicians that receive money from SBF, right? Everyone was trying to be his friend. He's making donations. He's paying them millions of dollars. What happens to them? Well, a lot of them already returned the money because they don't want to be associated with SBF. And they were right? The guy's going to be wearing orange and in federal prison. So, but of course, the courts and this restitution order, they'll try to pursue any funds that they can collect to try to pay back the victims as much money as they can. But I would not expect a large amount to be coming back to the victims. They've got tens of billions, 50 billion plus in money that they're going to have to collect to try to recoup for investors. Now, SBF's going to have a new set of friends. It's not going to be Joe Biden and Tom Brady and all these celebrities he was hanging out with. He's no longer the golden boy of crypto, the 20-year-old worth $50 billion. All right, he's not that guy anymore. He's just going to be another guy wearing the same yellow jumpsuit at a federal prison, eating the same food every day. And you know what? That's what he deserves. Now, make sure you are subscribed to my YouTube channel. I'm going to be coming back with more content about crypto, real estate, alternative assets, building wealth, tax and legal planning, and how you can take control of your financial future.